Vic and I have a delightfully spacious apartment on the second floor, about 5 minutes walk from the sea. It has a lovely balcony surrounded by trees and plants.
Breakfast in 1425 Sokak.
Could you interpret?
That's the road we live in, 1425 Sokak. I suppose we should say in Daira Sekiz, Tarun Apartman, Yedi.
The interpretation of all those English listeners.
Okay. Daira Sekiz means flat number 8. In Turunç apartment, that's the orange apartment. Orange as in the fruit. And it's orange apartment number 7. This is beautiful fresh grapefruit from here. And when I pull this out, all the segments should be left intact, just like that.
What better place to have one's breakfast on a warm spring morning? Next door is a handy little store for buying water and household goods.
This is Burhanettin Onatjadesi, so that's named after a doctor, Dr. Burhanettin, and this is the main thoroughfare. Our street is just up it, and we're in Murat Pasha Belediyesi. Belediyesi, that's it. Macro. It's the local.
And Turkey itself has been a bit of a revelation to us. It's much more modern in many ways than we expected. Antalya is, of course, a large city. I think it's about 1.2 million people, and it's a tourist centre, so it's probably more developed than some places in the country.
So this is Macro, which is our local market, and this is our favourite part of it. We're in here regularly to buy our grapefruit and our vegetables, melon, everything in season.
But it's a beautiful city, lovely people, has great facilities. We can even get some of our European goods at a store that provides things for the tourists and for foreign visitors.
Another. Bu çikolata, fındıklı, ay portakallı, sade çikolata.
Chocolate with orange.
Bu chocolate.
Chocolate with chocolate.
Chocolate with nuts.
Bu? Oh.
Bu fındık. Fındık. Ay kameralara çek.
This is Vic and Di's favourite. Give them a magnum and they're happy for the rest of the day.
Oh yeah, be careful, mine is mushroom.
Yeah, there's mushrooms coming up. Yeah, in a few weeks' time, this will just be a massive red, won't it?
It will, beautiful.
While the supermarkets are excellent, Vic usually walks to the Wednesday market. The countryside around Antalya is highly agricultural, and good quality fruit and veg are readily available at reasonable prices. The stallholders mostly work on the land, are less westernised and more conservative. You can tell by looking at the women's traditional Muslim headscarves.
Money?
This appears to be goat's cheese. Whatever, Vic gives it the thumbs up. Antalya is a very attractive city. There are green spaces everywhere and flowers are planted on every roundabout. One suspects this is because it is a tourist destination.
We moved to Turkey from Sheffield just over a year ago, and since then we've been living in Antalya, and we attend the St Paul Union Church. how to think of the full name. The St Paul Union Church, which is an international church in Kalichi, which is the old city in Antalya. So Antalya is quite a city of contrasts. It's fairly modern, it's only 25 years old. It was just a fishing village and a farming area, and that's reflected in the populace, in that you will see peasant farmers living in modern high-rise buildings but coming out of them still in farming type gear, while you've got the more Western type children in very Western clothing. We don't see very much of the hijab here, although it does occasionally appear.
The journey here has been exciting. It's been just amazing. God has been incredible in making the way straight for us. He has certainly planted our feet in green pastures, and we had Turkish friends who helped us to find an apartment, and we're now their neighbours and we live across the road from them. All the people in our community are Turkish, so that's helping a little with the Turkish language.
Çok zor.
That means Turkish is very difficult. Actually, it's a lot more difficult for me than it is for Vic, but that's another story.
Bir kitap okurum.
The best way to get into the city centre is by taking the tram. Vic and Di use it frequently, as it takes them very close to the church they attend.
Yeah, the church is brilliant, as Vic said. It's an international church. We serve the church in whatever way is needed. They have invited us to join the leadership team, but we're not keen to do that at this stage because our vision is much broader than the church is. So we've spoken to the pastor and we're happy to serve the church and do whatever he wants us to do, but we don't want to take a leadership position at this time.
That your way may be known on earth, your salvation among all nations.
There are several opportunities during the week to meet and share with others outside the church.
We get the morning service, and then afterwards we tend to go for lunch with some of the church members or some people who are visiting. And I think it's worth pointing out that the visitors are quite a major part of what we're doing here. We have a counselling centre here for overseas workers, which is called the Olive Tree Counselling Centre. So because of that, we have a lot more visitors coming through the church than would ordinarily be the case. We do have a lot of international visitors, but the Olive Tree Centre brings more missionaries in. So while they're here, we get to meet them. We meet some incredible people, hear some amazing stories, and often we all spend time with them. So sometimes that's Sunday lunches after church, other times it's during the week.
As Vic said, the international visitors are really important to us because the heart of our vision is unity, community and prayer. And praying for Turkey, of course, the nation that we're now living in, but also the wider nations of the world. And we're being able to do that by the number of people that we're meeting on a Sunday who come from all kinds of different places. So once we make relationship with the people and have fellowship with them, and if indeed they require prayer, then we pray for them as individuals, also for the projects that they're working for and the nations that they're going to be working in. So that's a really key element of what we're called to do in the future.
It's worth noting that we're not allowed to build churches in Turkey, so it's built as a cultural centre, and the church meets above the cafe and lounge area, but it's a lovely facility in which to meet.
Vic and Di are getting to know some of the stall holders and trying out their Turkish. They are also involved in the church's outreach to Syrian refugees. Here they are sorting out clothes that have been given. to see what might be suitable to pass on to them. Food is collected in bulk from a local supermarket and taken out to 2 camps.
This is typical of the kind of refugee camp you'll find out here. It's not official, it's unofficial. These refugees are Syrian, so they should be placed at another city, but they come here because there's more opportunity for work. And these are some of the kids.
It's good to see that aid is reaching the people who really need it, and that Christians are spearheading the work. Most days are busy with scheduled and unscheduled meetings, but they love taking time out when possible. Especially when guests are staying, they like having days out, hiring a car and driving out to some beautiful places. An hour's drive westwards brings you to Mount Olympus. At its foot was the ancient city of Olympus, going back to the 4th century in the Greek period, but still prospering by the time the Romans conquered it in 78 BC. The mountain is still a popular tourist attraction.
The course of true love does sometimes run smooth.
Facilis is Vic and Di's favourite spot. It's unspoilt, with 3 large sheltered bays. Roman remains from the 2nd century BC can be seen everywhere. Travel an hour in the opposite direction and you come to Aspendos.
Lady, come here please.
We didn't expect to find the Romans still here. Like Facilis, it became a Christian bishopric, from which at least 4 bishops attended the important early church councils. Then there's Side. Its extensive ruins are mostly 2nd century BC, but the old town is very much a tourist area.
You all right? It's going great, thank you. Lovely lunch, pizza, light lunch today because we're having a dinner this evening.
Another favourite spot is the Duden Falls, which tumble into the sea, but which also has some attractive falls inland.
Here we are, Jeremy, Vic, Gloria and myself, sitting at the foot of the Duden waterfalls in beautiful surroundings.
Safety is an issue that's worth talking about because it's a concern of many friends and relatives. There have been terrorist attacks in Turkey. There is a war on the Syrian border, so that is obviously a concern. But the authorities are very good in supporting the church. Since there were threats against places of worship in Turkey, we have a police guard on the building throughout the day. I think they also stay throughout the night. I'm not sure about that.
Whenever we're there.
But on Sundays in particular, they often close the road completely with barriers and don't allow cars, motorbikes through, and they search people's bags just in case there's an attempt on the church. But we haven't had any threats against us specifically, and we don't feel any concerns. It's no more dangerous here as far as we can see as it is anywhere else in Europe or the West.
Our longer term vision, and the reason we actually came to Turkey in the first place, is to build a community of international prayers who will live together in community and pray for Turkey and the wider nations of the world full time.
We don't anticipate the vision being in Antalya. It's a lovely place to live. We would love to stay here, but we believe it's probably going to be up in the mountains. We've been exploring some of those areas. We've seen some of the village life up there. Now it's just a case of finding the piece of land and then building the initial property and awaiting the arrival of the intercessors.
We're not allowed to recruit the intercessors. God told us that He's going to send them to us. So that's a key part of the vision, and one which is very exciting, waiting for it to unfold.
You may or may not have heard that was the muezzin, the call to prayer. So we have to go now because we have to pray.
And whenever we hear the Muslim call to prayer, which is 5 times a day, we always stop and pray the Lord's Prayer together.
So that's what we're going to do now. Our Father,
Our Father,
who
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.